you need to observe for a moment. What is my state of body and mind when I'm about to choose this action? Am I in a place of centeredness and kindness and clarity? Or am I coming from a place of kind of need and self kind of fear and anger? Some people think anger can be righteous because it leads to positive change. It's an energy. I think the same energy can be accessed even more strongly, the energy of compassion. That we want people not to suffer. Not that we want people to, be conquered and overcome because we think they're wrong. But to see the universality of dukkha, the universality of suffering, is a much stronger motivation than the type of righteous anger that many people have. So that's the question of action. Basically, I'm just recommending that everyone, before you make a choice of outer action, you pause, breathe, and observe. Observe mind. And is that the state of mind you want? Is that the state of mind that is wholesome? Is that the best state of mind to enter in an action? So I think that's a good thing to do. It can just be a couple of breaths. And the other question that was asked was about feeling kind of somewhat stagnant or stuck in some ways, and is it okay simply, not to meditate today or this morning? And is that simply, blowing away my practice and momentum? Is it just that I'm just being lazy, or is it acceptable? I think one of the ways we can approach this is from a completely different side of saying, perhaps our practice is more than meditation. And if our practice is defined only by our meditation and our practice of meditation and commitment to meditation, then we're going to have a very narrow practice, and it'll be hard to extend it and see how it relates to the rest of my day and my relationships and, my jobs I do and my way of life. So it's pretty important to understand practice in terms of a whole life, and meditation is one of the expressions of practice, but only one of them. It's an important one, and it is, in the Buddhist tradition, a central one. But if you don't do meditation, does that mean you're not practicing? Well, that means most of the day we're not practicing, doesn't it? Even if you meditate every morning, then I guess the rest of the day we're not practicing. If that's so, if like 23 and a half hours you're not practicing every day, then you might as well not practice that half hour, because the other 23 and a half you're not, so what does it matter? But if you can say that your life is your practice, and not just as a kind of like anything goes, so yeah, I'm practicing no matter what, I'm practicing as I'm watching that movie with all the shooting going on, I'm practicing deeply. No. That's an excuse. That's an excuse. But if we take our lives as our practice, we start to find more opportunities in all of our moments and activities to observe, to slow down, to breathe, to let go of negative states, to encourage positive states of mind, to notice the change of thoughts and the habits of mind that are pulling me one way or another, to find little points of freedom in every situation. And that comes from interest and openness. Part of this practice, in fact, a really important part, is a type of curiosity, interest, and openness towards all moments. In a sense, that is another word for what we call equanimity. Equanimity doesn't mean simply that I can deal with bad things, that I accept when things don't go my way. That's one understanding. But equanimity also means that I am not looking at my life with a sense of preference, that I prefer this over that. I'm letting go of preferences, which doesn't make me indifferent. It makes me actually interested in everything, because this is my life. And so every moment then is equal. Equanimity. Every moment is equal. Equal in what way? Equally important, and equally an opportunity to be wise and caring. So this is what equanimity really means. And that expands it beyond the minutes of meditation we may do. So that if you don't do sitting formal meditation, then you have a whole day of informal mindfulness, where you can apply your mind and your intentions and your commitments and your precepts to all the situations that you find yourself in. Your practice never ends, right? So then meditation becomes something that is not an outer sort of burden that, kind of like I have to do it, and if I didn't do it, then I feel kind of guilty. But rather, it's another expression of your training and of your practice. But it's one of the many. And it's a lovely one, okay? It's a lovely one. And it's one that gives us a lot of freedom, because you can sit and not have to prove anything, whereas in every other situation, it's very purpose-oriented. I'm doing this because I have to fulfill a purpose. And within that, you can find some openness and purposelessness in those moments. But most of the day, it's sort of like going from A to B. Meditation is a special opportunity to just stay with A and not worry about B. But again, the main point and the main kind of response to that question is that you should take your life of practice more seriously.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel.
To Ellis, I wanted to, some of the haiku that I had for the talk today, which is not going to happen because it's 9 o'clock, which is good because what we talked about is important. But I wanted to offer a couple of haiku that really relates to the comment of feeling like this ever-increasing time of separation and solitude and isolation from each other is weighing on us and becoming an increasingly heavy burden. So, Basho, the haikuist, the haiku master Basho, okay, from the 16th century Japan, and he was considered the greatest haiku artist in history. And he wrote haiku like this. He has a lot of them are seasonal, and he has a whole bunch on autumn. They all do. And autumn, which is considered the season of change. So when the beginning of this evening, and when Roy asked me how's it going in Jerusalem, I was like, oh, not much different, and not much different in Tel Aviv. Well, it's different and not different, different and not different. Things change. Some things seem not to change. They change at different paces. And it's true that there's impermanence and everything is changing, but most of the time we don't really notice it. We only notice changes when they shock us. But the subtle changes are more important to notice for us, because that's how we can find some sense of acceptance. We start to become familiar with the change in my body, in my mind, waking up during the day, getting tired at night. And autumn is coming late. We've had a long, hot summer, and now sort of autumn's happening a bit in Jerusalem. We're getting the cool evenings. But it still feels like it's got a while to go. And Basho writes this: turn this way. I also feel lonely this autumn evening. Turn this way. I also feel lonely this autumn evening. That was Basho's autumn haiku. And he's addressing it to the reader. And remember, Basho spent much time alone. He went on long pilgrimages and journeys, walking all around the big island of Japan and writing haiku. And yet, his keen sense of loneliness was something that comes through much of his poetry. And that loneliness, I think, in a sense, was the source of his poetry. So this loneliness that we feel as perhaps a source of our coming together and aspiring to become a Sangha and to practice and to develop compassion that will connect us to others, so that we say to others in our hearts, and they say to us, and we say to ourselves, turn this way this evening. I think that sincerity of feeling, the sense that when we experience pain and loneliness is an expression of that, of dukkha. It's an expression of the first noble truth of the Buddha, where it's the truth of saying that suffering is not something wrong. Loneliness is not a failure. It's the way things are. And finally, somebody is telling us the truth. Truth is that the difficulties will remain, and an awakened mind is possible. So, I think it'd be good for us to spend a couple of minutes to sit quietly, and then to finish our evening of sitting alone together. So just close your eyes and feel comfortable. Notice your breath, notice your body, and notice your mind. So thank you everybody for this evening. I was glad we could meet even in this way.